So of the few African instruments that I'm learning to play, let's rank them from easiest to hardest, starting with the shakers. So the shakers are easy for beginners because maybe you just play like this. But you don't always have to do it that way. You can make it more interesting like this. And if you add the second shaker, you can make even more complex rhythms, something like this. Or even and then the next easiest one is the marimba, which I think is the best instrument to introduce someone to music in general, because the notes are laid out linearly or in a line and it's extremely intuitive. And then next on the list we've got the djembe, which is the easiest rhythmic instrument because you use your hands and it's just left, right, left. But now with this one we're starting to get to the complicated instruments because now we've got different tones that you can produce with this thing. And then we've got the talking drum. So this one you don't use two hands to hit it, but you use the stick, which can also allow you to come up with very, very interesting sounds, like bouncing the stick like that. And the other thing that makes it difficult is remembering the pressure to apply here. And also you can use the other hand to make even more interesting sounds until it sounds like the drum can actually talk. Now let's go to Kenya with the wandindi, which is a really hard instrument to play because bowing itself and making a good sound is difficult. And then the hardest thing about it is intonation or playing the notes in tune, because if you press on the string harder, it changes the pitch, so you have to be very, very careful. And then now we go to South Africa, where there's one of my most favorite, the uhadi. You gotta admit, this thing makes such an interesting sound. And what makes it difficult, just like the wandindi, the intonation. And the other thing that makes this complicated is the scale at which other instruments or singers should be singing, because this uses a mixolydian scale. I'll explain properly in the next uhadi episode. And then we've got the fun ones, the kushkash from West Africa, which are just in the same category of shakers, but I split them because these are like two shakers joined by a string, and that makes it really complicated because that motion of swinging it around and catching it is really difficult to learn at first because you can't slow down the swinging around rate of it. So it becomes tricky to learn at first. And besides 1, 2, shake, that's not the only way to play it. There are other tricky things that you must learn to do. I'm actually still learning it right now. And then the one I'm always talking about, the mbira. And then the hardest instrument of them all, with a 10 out of 10 rating in terms of hardness, is the tabla, which I used to call the dabruka, but then there's a lot of comments which were like, the dabruka is Moroccan, it's Algerian, and it's Arabic, and all those other things. So let's call it the tabla from now on. And what makes this so difficult is it's so extremely sensitive. If you do something just a little bit wrong, the sound won't even come out. And I'm sorry, it will take about 6 more months before I can do all the amazing things that these guys do on the tabla. So I'll just do my own thing.